Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Billy Eggers, and today we're going to be talking about one of the reasons why I really appreciate not just Attack on Titan, but Isayama. And it's the understanding of human nature that I really enjoy. And today we're going to be talking about this in the context of a very terrible soap opera called Once Upon a Time. And I may be asking, why am I comparing a generational masterpiece to a soap opera? The reason being is because the main character in this disgusting soap opera has a maxim.
Evil isn't born, it's made.
And this maxim is repeated, of course, throughout the show. But the problem is that this maxim is the point of the show, and it is also presumably supported by the audience. The rest of the audience agrees with her in this sentiment, which is a ridiculous sentiment. And again, I'm not just picking on Once. There's plenty of other shows that do this, but I'm bringing up Once as just a specific example, and I'm really bringing this not to harp on Once, because I can do that any day of the week. What I'm doing is to elevate Attack on Titan, says what Attack on Titan does right and what could go wrong and what does go wrong. So that's why I'm bringing up this very awful soap opera. So, when Regina says, evil isn't born, it's made, she's referring, of course, to this idea that innately humans are good, or they're good people, or they're generally easygoing, and then something happens to them, then all of a sudden they start doing evil things. There's that. There's also, it's right at this point in season 1. Yes, I'm familiar with this show. Don't ask me why I'm so familiar with this show. But in season 1, she said, "Oh, I've had my heart broken, and I know what that does. It makes people do unspeakable things." So just go along with the whole vibe, just to give you another way to say it. So it's sort of that sentiment, right? She was fine beforehand, before she met Daniel. She was perfectly fine, perfectly normal. And then after Daniel was killed, that being her fiance that she loved, who her mother killed. So she had a person she loved, and her mother killed him. Doesn't matter why, but she killed him. Then she became dark and evil and scary and whatever. Now, of course, I know what you're probably thinking right now. Wait a second. Isn't the exact opposite of our favorite protagonist in any show ever, Eren freaking Yeager? Right? You think, oh, evil isn't born, it's made, right? You think, oh, Eren's just a chill dude beforehand. Eren was an easygoing, regular 10-year-old beforehand. And then the Titans attacked him, and then all of a sudden, he decides to genocide all of humanity. Oh, that sounds funny to say out loud. But the problem is that inherently, human beings are deeply flawed. Of course, I can bring up a bunch of verses for this. There's, not that I need to prove myself, just to give you the point. Right? No one is righteous, no, not one. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Man who drinks iniquity like water. Whatever way you want to say it, that's how you can say it, right? It's not like people are just like a little bit bad or like medium. They're like very evil people. Everyone. And Attack on Titan gets this. And, one of the greatest things about Attack on Titan is, of course, the character motivations. All the character motivations are extremely solid. You can't look at anyone and say, this is an unreasonable action. With Regina, you actually can. Sort of. Again, it's more of an emotional thing. It's more of an emotional pain, so you really can't say what she was doing was unreasonable. But if you look at what happened, right, her fiancé got killed by her mom, so she instead decided to go after a little girl who told her mom that secret, the secret that she was with Daniel, the fiancé. So Snow White told her mom, then her mom killed her. So all I'm saying is that the character motivations are extremely grounded. Why does Reiner do what he does? That makes sense. Why does Papa Yeager, Eren's grandfather, do what he does? That makes a lot of sense. Why does he do what he does? Makes a lot of sense. Why does Eren do what he does? Makes a lot of sense. Why does Gabby do what she does? Makes a lot of sense, right? But these are all people who do evil stuff, right? We have Eren who looked upon dead bodies of children and was like, that's perfectly fine. And he went about his day, right? But he knew he was gonna. He knew he was going to kill a whole bunch of people that had nothing to do with it, and he decided that he was just gonna go along and do it anyway. I'm not saying whether it was right or wrong. That's not the point of this segment. I'm just trying to say that he does do evil stuff. Same thing with Connie, right? He goes and he slaughters his own comrades, which to me is worse than slaughtering a random person. But hey, you can make that deal with that what you will. So he slaughters his comrades. John does this to betray their country, all this other stuff. We know what Reiner did, right? All this stuff. But that was always there, you see. Not all those motivations grounded in firm logic. Those were always there. And this is most perfectly played out with Eren Yeager himself. Right? And of course, we have to keep circling back to this. Just like Jin Sakai, we're going to keep circling back to the human traffickers. I know you guys probably getting sick of me saying this over and over again, but it's so true. This shows his innate desire to slaughter people who he disagrees with. And everybody's saying, whoa, Beluga, they should have died. I agree with you that they should have died. You don't have to argue about that. But you have to understand, this 9-year-old went with no obligation to anyone and went and slaughtered people. Killed them. Passionately. He didn't kill them. See, that's the other thing about the scene. You see intention again. The purposeful attention and detail in Eren's innate nature. He doesn't kill them just because get rid of just to help make the sun. I said something over again. And if you don't believe me, the reason I know that is because he didn't stop killing them after they were dead. He continuously stabbed them over and over again. He was happy to do so. He was very pleased. He was slaughtering them. Blood was flying everywhere. He was like, yes, this is great. This is only natural. You guys are animals. He stabbed them. Then he did this because, again, he desires freedom for himself and people who he loves. And when he sees someone doing that, he's perfectly happy to take those violence. And another thing, again, this is mostly a praise session of Isayama. This is not dunking on us, but another thing is when he hits the guy over the head. Who's complaining about the Survey Corps. This is a guy who disagrees with him about the allocation of tax money. And the dude has the point. The dude has it, whether you didn't like him or not. Whether you like the dude or not. The bald guy in season 1. Whether you like the guy or not. Eren hit him. Because he disagreed with him politically about the allocation of tax dollars. Why? Because Eren's always going to use violence to solve problems. He's always going to use violence to make the world how he wants it to make. Eren was always an evil person. Since the beginning. It just wasn't shown because he was in... First off, he didn't have the power to act as evil. And when he did, he took full advantage of it and reveled in it. So... But once upon a time, in other popular media would have you think that people are just, generally good people. Another good example of this is The Good Place. That show is despicable, and it says that humans are generally good people. Like, you do some things right, you do some things wrong, and then should even out. Then you get to the heaven and whatnot, and all this stuff about being a good person, all sort of stuff, and it's all about the goodness of humanity, which has its spots, but the way A Good Place does it is flies completely off the rails. I actually loved that Chidiani Goni was in hell. I loved that because this author knows what he's doing. This guy knows what he's doing. Yes, Chidiani Goni is a punk, and being a moral philosopher is actually worse than being trash like Eleanor, because Eleanor knows he's trash. Jaden knows he's trash, but he's suppressing it with his good deeds. And I don't want to talk about that, but his good deeds and his moral philosophy, even though he caused a lot of harm, even ignoring the fact that he caused a lot of harm in people's life because of indecisiveness, right? He's already hard to reach because, again, we have to understand, when you see a person, you have to understand they are genuinely bad people. Chidi, just by the fact that he's a human being, is a genuinely bad person. So to see him in hell, even though he was a moral philosopher, was a great message. Like, yes, he should be in hell. It makes sense why he's there, but then they ruined it and they changed it and all this other stuff, and then so yeah. They don't understand human nature either. Isayama knows this, and he capitalizes off of this. He has Eren Yeager show signs. Have you ever noticed that he never had PTSD from slaughtering those people? He never had any problems. He just killed them and went about his day. Like Mikasa thinks about it a lot. She it's traumatic for her and stuff. But Eren, that was just another Tuesday for him. He just went right along and did what he did. Right. We should have been tipped off because he was talking about killing animals before he mentioned killing Titans. Right? So it was always, again, this is a big thing in season 4, right? Why did Eren change? Why did Eren change? And some of us who were smart and not foolish and understood the story were saying Eren hasn't changed. He's the exact same person. He's the exact same person now. There's nothing really new about him. And others will say, no, he changed. No, he's not changed. He's always been evil. They've all always been evil. Look at Connie in season 1 when he first gets introduced. You're telling me that selfish prick isn't capable of evil? Now, unfortunately for us, he didn't do anything selfish. He did, the selfless thing and whatnot. But we see this. We see Armin, right? This is even foreshadowed. How in season 3, they said, you've always had some creepy sick side to you, right? And then he gets this really creepy laugh, right? We see this in season 2 where he manipulates Bertho by lying to him. A morally questionable thing, right? Killing Titans who aren't humans and don't need to eat humans but still do anyway, that's not morally questionable. There's no moral qualms about killing those people. But lying to someone? Maybe we're stepping into a little bit of foreign territory here. Maybe lying to people isn't really what we need to do. And then they start from lying to people to killing people. You see, then they start to torture people. Then they start to lie to more people. And then they start to kill everyone, right? And see how it progresses, how it's forced on how the seeds are planted. Not to mention Armin's maxim, one of Armin's maxims, which is, in order to rise above monsters, you must abandon your humanity. Obviously hinting that Armin is not the nicest person in the world. And how he is capable of such evil, like that's what he does in Liberio, right? Or Libero. Again, I always say this, whatever you want to call it. But most media, most post, and I do say postmodern in the actual postmodern sense, most postmodern media, most pop culture will have you think otherwise. Take The Dark Knight as an example. Now, that one's a little bit different, but one of the very, very few criticisms I'd have, and I don't even know if it's a criticism or not, I would actually like to talk with the director more about this. I wouldn't actually say it's a bad thing. It was the whole message of I thought the Joker was right? That, all the stuff he was saying, and Batman was like, deep down, they're good people, they're going to do the great thing. That's why the Joker's plan didn't work out, because the Joker was Batman, they're going to default to their evil nature, and then they're going to do whatever, but Batman ended up being right. It's like, there's good people, we can see the light, all sort of stuff. Now, again, I don't have a personal, I wouldn't have I wouldn't say it's an actual problem, per se. I'd say it's a little bit interesting, right? And I would give Attack on Titan the high ground over that. For now, if there's any Dark Knight fans who think that the ending was better than I say, please, by all means, please leave a comment. I'll definitely reply to that. But from my vantage point, it's a little bit interesting. Because to me, the Joker was completely right? He just said, I'm just ahead of the curve, right? That's one of the things he says. And he knows that humans are going to eventually default back to their, selfish, evil, intrinsic nature, which is why he says of the boat situation, the way he sets it up. So the Batman, the whole message at the end, again, a little bit shaky, but and I bring up the Dark Knight to say that it's part of pop culture, right? It's part of, the standard issue, message and morals we get. But the message we get at Attack on Titan is said explicitly by Colt or Niccolo. I never understood. They always look similar to me, and I never really got the difference between them. And when I was trying to read back for my parody video, I really couldn't figure out who it was. I was informed by someone it was Colt, but it doesn't matter. Either Colt or Niccolo, it doesn't matter who said it. Colt or Niccolo said, right, the devil is in all of us, because Gabby's saying that she's the devil, which is, again, a mischaracterization. There's such a thing as good people or evil people, right? And of course, this is going to bring the whole deterministic debates and all that stuff. This is not a debate. This is not a debate about compatibilism and determinism and all sort of stuff. What we're talking about here is just the intrinsic nature of human beings. So please ignore all other stuff. I got it. Okay, I've made many videos about these things. You can go check them out if you want to. But Gabby said that she's the devil because she did evil things, right? But Niccolo Colt says no, you're wrong. This is a mischaracterization. The Eldians on parody are not devils. The Eldians are not devils. The Morlans are not devils. we all are devils, or have a devil in us, I think is what he said, or have a demon in us, which is funny because I think the word, Akuma, whatever the word is, I'll have to look that up, but for the song Child of Evil, which of course is talking about Aaron's intrinsic evil nature and how even though he's sacrificing himself, even though he's doing this for justice, there's still an evil motivation in him at the end of the song. But he says, a devil, a demon, whatever, is in all of us, which is why the world is the way it is today. And that is exactly spot on. That is exactly spot on. And of course, what he says after is something that you would hear, what you expect from a fluffy, naive television programming, but instead, it is soaked in meaning because the author knows what he's talking about. He says, even if we can't get the children out of the forest, we still must try. And this, of course, is the only hope that they have, because, as Mr. Brown said, the only hope is to, the burn of sins of the past, blah, 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 all other stuff. I'm not going to get into that. But he says this, the author says this, fully understanding human nature, fully having nuanced it, because he, instead of just saying, oh, we can get out of the forest, we can do this freaking stuff, it's going to be easy peasy, it's going to work, everything's going to be fine. He says, no, actually, everyone there is innately evil, and that is why we're in this situation. And speaking of Arthur Browse and getting children out of the forest, and that hope, the genuine hope that we have, though it is missing something, but the genuine hope that we have through Niccolo or Cult, it actually might have been Niccolo now that I think about it, we actually turn to Sasha, who's also an evil bastard too. We see her wholesale just shoot Gabby's friends right in front of her. Now, are they enemy combatants? Of course they are, right? But you have to also remember, everyone who acted in Libero acted, whether they were directly or not, acted with killing innocent children and other innocent people who had nothing to do with anything, did not hurt them, did not do anything to them. People who knew what was going to happen, babies and all this other stuff. She was there helping Aaron do that. She was shooting people, not to protect herself, but to protect Aaron. She did that, and again, that's what Dad said. She shot people, and she got shot herself, right? When Ryan and those boys came up, and they took away Thomas and those boys, they killed people, and then, Sophie and Anna got killed. They got killed themselves. Sasha killed, and she got killed herself. This is a commentary on the innate evil of human beings, because Sasha is like, oh, it's this fun potato girl, she's funny and cute, and then she turns out to be a murderer. Again, it's enemy combatants, sure, whatever, a little bit of nuance there, but she goes and kills people, she's a killer, on a very questionable mission. She goes back up the airship, and then she gets shot by an enemy combatant. What are you gonna do? And you have to look at yourself and say, why do I hate Gabby so much? She killed my Sasha. Okay, Sasha was an enemy combatant. So, whatever Gabby did to Sasha is a mute point, because it's tit for tat. It's the same thing. Sasha killed her people, Gabby killed them. There's nothing else to say about that. But other shows would make it so that Gabby is just a fun, nice person who has a conscience on her and all that sort of stuff. And I love how the conscience of the shows, the good people of the shows, end up doing atrocities, right? We have, I don't really say Falco per se, but definitely Armin. We see Armin, he's, the conscience of the show, the good guy, right? He's so cool and nice and cute to everybody, but then he ends up slaughtering people wholesale. So, yeah, really good stuff from Isayama. Really good stuff from Attack on Titan. But again, even with that knowledge, again, with Niccolo, I'm pretty sure Niccolo said this actually. With Niccolo said there's still hope. We can still try to get the children out of the forest, and of course we can connect that to the owl saying, if we don't love someone inside the walls, the recycle bottles will repeat all over again. And that gives us genuine hope, because the author has nuance to death, and an author knows what he's talking about. Any other time, this comes off as cheap and sleazy and unrealistic, but in this time, we know what the author knows what he's talking about. We know that he knows that he knows how human beings work in the first place. So he knows if it's coming from him, and with this allegory, we know this is actually pretty legit. And another thing that I really, really love is that Isayama gets the priorities down right. Now, again, using Once Upon a Time as an example, and my fellow Jaegerist, in which maybe right. Maybe I'm not actually a real Jaegerist. But there's a scene, I think it was in season 6 or something like that. It's along the lines in Once Upon a Time, where Emma, which is the main protagonist, his parents, Emma's the main protagonist's parents, she gets like sent away in this box to go to Maine, and her parents somehow are able to get the opportunity to actually go into her life again, through like this magical portal. Okay, but basically they couldn't do that because it will be leaving. It wouldn't break the curse, and then everyone else would have to suffer. So their subjects of their kingdom would have to suffer. So basically, they were trading out their daughter for the rest of their kingdom. And of course, to me, that's an incredibly horrific and awful thing to do, right? Your family should be your first priority, especially your wife. But of course, when most shows fall into the trap of having the kids be the first part of the kids being equal to the wife, or for the country being more important than the family looking at you, Jaegerist, then we fall into this trap where we make something that doesn't actually make any sense. Of course, Attack on Titan takes all that and throws into the window. Eren cared about the people he loves way more than they cared about parody, and of course, this is obvious. And of course, of all the people he cares about Mikasa the most. And in the ideal world, again, this is up to debate, but in the ideal world, it was shown in 138 that he was even to abandon Armin to live his life with Mikasa. And the reason why I say this is not Mikasa's aberration, this is not Mikasa's imagination, is because Eren tells her in this aberration to throw the scarf away. So to me, it feels like they couldn't be Mikasa because Mikasa wouldn't imagine something like that. But again, this is open debate. I'm not going to debate whether or not 138 was ideal or canon, whether it happened in the past or was a dream or whatnot. I'm just saying, Eren did this. We know for a fact that Eren did this. The main reason was for Mikasa. And a quick proof that's from the canon is that the only thing Eren knew for certain is that Mikasa was going to be alive. That's the only thing he knew for certain. He didn't know about parody, he didn't know about his own life, he didn't know about his friends, he didn't know about any of that. All he knew is that Mikasa was going to survive. And then, of course, non-canon, though, maybe it's still canon, is child of evil. I will sacrifice anything to protect you, right? So, I really just love how Isayama gets the relationships and the sacrifices down pat. Yes, 100% sacrifice your country for your family every single time. Alright guys, generic call to action, and I'll see you in the next video.